Welcome in, everyone. This is the What Really Grinds My Games podcast, and I got my co host Trolls right over here. That's all you can say is howdy. Got it. Perfect. Good entrance. Good entry. Good entry. Anyways, we are here to talk games. We are gonna kind of relive the next couple weeks, our what really got us into gaming together, and all that good stuff. We're gonna kind of go through where we got our start. Um, and go from there. I'll let Trolls go first since he is the co-host. Hold on, I need to interrupt. Did you say Game Boy? We'll touch base on that when you're done. Well, I got my start PS2. I did a lot of Game Boy games as well. Started with Pokemon Crystal. Finished that when I was a kid. Pokemon Emerald, and then I went to the PS2 with Final Fantasy X. And then did a lot of PS2 stuff back then, Guitar Hero, all that good jazz, GTA. Um, did a lot of GameCube, Need for Speed Most Wanted on the GameCube, Mario Party 5, and then I moved up to Xbox 360. Got introduced originally to Gears of War 2, and then went over to Halo. Got I also had an original Xbox as a kid. Got introduced to Halo 2 first. I never played Combat Evolved until later on. Loved Halo 2. Played through the first like 5 levels, 4 levels, what all the ones with Master Chief about 1,000 times probably. Um, I really enjoyed the Halo franchise. It's what really got me onto the Xbox as well. Um, I then transitioned to playing 360 online with Call of Duty World at War and Halo 3, which is or World at War is where I met Excalibur here, and then Halo 3 is where him and I put a lot of our time in with a group that we used to play with, custom games, infected, and all that stuff for about 2 years, I believe it was. And then we started playing games together all the way up to now the Series S and X and PC. So we play it. I play a variety of different games, but all the way from Minecraft to GTA, MMOs, RTSs, real time or any type of strategy game, Final Fantasy game. I love JRPGs, just time does not like them because of how long they are. Um, I want to go back and play a lot of retro stuff, which we'll talk about with time to come. But today we are going to talk about Halo, on where we personally want to see Halo to go moving forward, our memories with Halo, our thoughts on how Halo was back in the day compared to what it is now, amongst with a bunch of other stuff. So we will get the Halo talks on. Is there anything that you want to talk about prior to Halo Excalibur? Any games that actually there is one thing I want to bring up. What game have you been playing lately? Which has been a great experience when it wants to work. Yeah, so just a fair warning, this is the pilot episode. It's going to be a little chaotic, a little, a little unorganized, a little my fault too, but we're going to work with it. We're going to kind of get it a little scheduled down so we aren't all over the place. But I've been playing a little bit of Minecraft, with some friends, some First Ascendant, some mobile games, Age of Mythology with Excalibur here. Been playing some Pokemon Blue, going back to we live in childhood a little bit. I have a few other games lined up ready to play. Once I gotta get what I'm into now done, or caught up and wrapped up. Um, I don't think there's anything else I've been playing. I don't think there's any other big news. Um, that's relatable. Besides, Space Marines comes out tomorrow. You excited for that, Trolls? Yep, tomorrow, because we're on the 8th. Yep. Today's date is September 8th. In case this does not get uploaded today. Um, so yeah, if you're hearing it, we're excited for Space Marines to come out. It is because it does come out tomorrow at time of recording. So I am gonna make the camera a bit smaller. We're gonna get some Halo gameplay going up in the background. Upload it on what? So I'm gonna try to upload on YouTube Music, Spotify if possible, and if I can figure out how to, Apple Music. It was a good thing I'm doing this live because I would have forgotten to mention that. Oops, because that's not the right thing. That's the right thing. So you're not gonna be able to hear it. But we are just gonna have some Halo gameplay on the video aspect of the podcast because obviously we're talking Halo today. We're going to start with talking a little bit about Combat Evolved and kind of working our way up towards the series to where we're at today with Infinite. I'm not sure if Trolls has played a lot of Infinite himself. I know I've played through, I think, all the way through. Otherwise, I'm at the last boss. It has been a hot minute since I've played Infinite. But Trolls, Halo 1, Combat Evolved. What is your memories with this game? Right? I know like the first time seeing Chief step out of the pod too, that was iconic because I mean, you have this super soldier just stepping out of a pod and then you have to calibrate, the controls and stuff and you know, you don't have any guns and you're sitting here running through the ship and everything, and you're like, "Oh, well, I'm thought, this cool soldier on the case and stuff has a rifle, what's going on?" And then you start with a pistol. It's like, okay. But yeah, talking the Flood, that's still one of the more iconic enemies that we face. I don't remember them being in Infinite as far as I remember from what I've played, but then again, I've played the Infinite campaign when it first came out, so it's been a hot minute. But we'll get to Infinite. We'll get to Infinite. Um, the one thing that Halo Combat Evolved did introduce is just a lot of like the Covenant, the Covenant enemies. Seeing the elites for the first time. I mean, you're seeing everything for the first time because it's the first game, obviously. But um, I know the sound of the AR was the more iconic at the time because they did change the AR, especially the power from the first game to the second game. They made it a little bit more um compact. I feel like with Halo 2. I know the HD remastered was definitely something that it needed. I'm glad that they brought it back with the Master Chief Collection and then seeing Halo 2 getting remastered with the Master Chief Collection 2 was something I was really happy to see. Um, the last mission for Halo 1, because I know if we sit here and just dissect Halo 1, 2, 3, 4, ODST, all of them, we're gonna be here all night. So let's talk about the last mission for Halo 1, and then we'll go to Halo 2, because Halo 1 introduced a lot of stuff, but Halo 2 also did as well. Um, the Warthog, seeing that for the first time in Halo 1 was pretty cool. Same with the Banshees and the Ghosts, because it was the only two Warthogs that they had in Halo 1, I believe, was the Scout Hog and the Machine Gun Hog. They didn't have the Gauss Hog yet. I think that was introduced in either 2 or 3. I think it was 3. Yeah, because but yeah, I want to talk about the last mission. Like when you first get to the last mission, you get in the Warthog and they tell you to drive and they give you a 10-minute countdown. That was and then they cue up the music. It was by far the most, I don't want to say iconic. I mean, it was iconic, but it was more of, oh, it wasn't even a 10-minute countdown. It was like a 3.5 minute countdown. Seeing the gameplay I have up right now, um, having to race through the tunnel, try not to die or lose your warthog, like what happened in many times with us through the gameplays that we've done. Like, what are your thoughts on that driving mission at the end of the Halo games? Right? Right. And to think that Halo 1 was only made within like a year and a half of being shown at an E3 or something like that, at a game showcase, because, it was bought by Microsoft in early 2000. In 2000, they had an E3, and they're like, we need a game from you, Bungie. And then they showed a really crappy gameplay, or, cinematic, and then they came out with this masterpiece a year and a half later. I mean, games aren't made that quick anymore, and that's what people expect. But seeing, this being made as quickly as it was, and how, like, in history, this game will always be remembered. Halo 1 Combat Evolved will always be remembered as one of the best shooters of the era. And if anybody tries to argue that, they clearly have never played through it and enjoyed it. Oh yeah, Halo was Xbox poster boy. They claim it still is, but it is, in my opinion, it is not. Um, Unfortunately, like for me, I see like the Forzas and the Gears and stuff being the poster boys, not Halo right now, just because of the state of it. But we'll, like I said, we'll get to that point when we get to, get further down. Let's talk Halo 2. I know you haven't played much of that game yourself. I mean, wasn't I when you and I played Halo 2, wasn't that your first playthrough? So, your first playthrough was when the Master Chief Collection came out, which was I don't even remember when that was. Master Chief came. Oh my God, it's so you. It was about 10 years ago, so it's almost been a decade your first time playing through Halo 2, and I know we've played through it a few times since. I want you to tell me what your thoughts were playing through Halo 2 for the first time after playing Halo 3 and Halo 1 prior. Yeah, that was the one thing that Halo 2 really did have right was, they especially the remastered, it was never um like there's a scene in the Halo 2 remaster that was never in Halo 1, or the original Halo 2, which was when Arbiter met with Locke, which we'll go into Locke later. But yeah, introducing on how Arbiter was actually turned into Arbiter was more in depth shown with the remastered, which I loved. Because if you go back, because you can go back and forth between the graphics with Combat Evolved and Halo 2 on Master Chief Collection, and going back to the old graphics, you do not see all of the extra cinematics that the remastered shown, which is really cool to see the big difference between the two. Um, I personally like the remaster does show a lot of graphical change, but even looking at the Halo 2 gameplay I'm showing right now, this is on the original Xbox and it still holds up really well. Um, that was the thing. Like I think Halo 2 was definitely ahead of its time on the original Xbox. It introduced dual wielding, which was great. It introduced a phenomenal gun called the battle rifle. Um, especially with if you're more of a ranged person, you like seeing the scopes and all that. But dual wielding needlers was by far ahead of its era, which and a little overpowered, which is why in Halo 3 they took it out. I like I said, this game holds really closely to my heart because the fact is I put so many hours into it when I was a kid, and playing this for the first time with my best friend, Excalibur here was by far one of the best experiences. Seeing playing with somebody who's experiencing a game for the first time is always great, but playing a game that's close to your heart is definitely a better feeling because it's something that you really enjoy as a kid, and you get to show your best friend on what it is, and if since especially as a franchise that they love, and it shows characters more in depth of backgrounds of that they love, like the Arbiter. It really is a great experience. I think didn't nope, Halo 1 had scorpions too. Like, didn't Halo 2 introduce scorpions? Um, was there anything else in Halo 2 that made you be like, "Whoa"? Didn't they introduce brutes into as well? Yep. And that's when you start playing as Arbiter because you're going after other Covenant, which are working with the brutes. And that's something I should have said spoilers at the beginning, but this is a 20-year-old game. If you haven't played Halo 2, go play Halo 2. It's by it's about a 6 hour experience. If you're sitting here, playing on a certain difficulty, but um, it's definitely a game that's worth playing whether you're on original console, with Xbox or even the Master Chief Collection. Halo 2 is a game that is worth the play. It's way past date to be spoil. Yeah, it's way past date to be spoiler. Halo 2 was released, I believe, in 2002. Actually, it was released November 9th, 2004. So it is definitely um something that people should have played or at least heard of by now. But and it also introduced more of, Halo 2 introduced head of a faction with Gravemind. That's something we cannot forget because that does play a big factor in Halo 3. Because Halo 2 goes into depth with Halo 3. Go ahead. So the end of this game plays a lot different than the end of Halo 2 or Halo 1, my bad. The end of Halo 2 isn't a driving mission like Halo 1 was. It was actually you facing the head brute in fighting for the what do they call it? It was the key for the ring. I haven't played Halo 2 in a hot minute. I kind of feel bad forgetting the actual name or the index. And Arbiter and Sarge kind of stand side by side, and you're going after the brute and 343 Guilty Spark. Um, Definitely just an iconic game ahead of its time. Anything else for Halo 2 before I kind of go on to 3? There's a couple games that we're gonna touch a little bit more base on. It's just Halo 1 and 2 just introduced it quite a bit. I don't want to dive too deep into one because we'll be here all night. Um, yeah, it's the beginning of the franchise. Halo 3. First game to play as both Master Chief and Arbiter. Basically, if you're playing as player 1, you play as Master Chief. If you play as player 2, you play as the Arbiter. And it's more of a foresty environment, which was pretty cool. They took away my dual-wielding needlers. I love those needlers. I'll miss them. But, you have to move on. They did make the needler a little bit more powerful on its own, but having two of the pink mist will always be iconic with Halo 2. They did introduce a lot more brute weapons, since the brutes are the main enemy with Halo 3, and introduced a lot more custom games because Halo Online was firing up big time. The custom games was something that was good amongst friends. Infected mode was great. Just the multiplayer in general was phenomenal as well with the storyline. Um, Anything with the storyline you want to bring up? Yep. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a hot minute since we played through the Halo games. We should have done that but prior to the podcast, but it's fine. We're basing this off memory. We played through the games how many times we should remember it. Wasn't Halo 3 the one where you kill a bunch of scarabs? Or a few of them? Okay, so I'm getting my games right, because, all the Halos are great. But when you have a couple duds in there, to be fair, but yeah. Um, that's definitely one thing that was pretty cool was, you hop on a scarab in Halo 2. In Halo 3, you're just knocking them out like it's nothing. Because that was the one thing with Halo 2 I forgot to mention. Like, in Mission 3, when you jump on the scarab, that was just riding that through the little canal was just memorable. Jumping on something, you're like, oh my god, don't miss. And then, you hop on a. Yeah, and that scarab I feel like was weaker than the one that, we killed in 3. And the brute's weapons have a lot of melee extra compatibility to them. Like with the brute shot, you got the big blade at the back with the uh spikers. Yep, spikers. You got the two blades at the bottom, and you can dual wield too, which is really cool. Yeah, all the brute weapons look pretty cool. Even the bolt shot was pretty cool too. Um, the flood had a really high presence towards the end of this game. Um, when you end up having to fight against Gravemind and just the flood. If you don't have an automatic or a shotgun or a hammer or a sword, or even the hammer was the flamethrower? Yeah, the flamethrower was in 3. Yeah, it was just hard to deal with the flood. What was your favorite weapon against the flood? The brute hammer? Mine would probably have to be the shotgun because I remember every time I used the shotgun in Halo 1, and shotgun shells were rare in Halo 1. Let's be real. And that's the thing. As soon as the flood came in, all weapon ammo for the weapons you needed were all of a sudden you couldn't find them. Like shotgun ammo was scarce, swords were half empty, SMGs were barely ammo that was like half a clip you'd find. Right? Yeah. It's basically playing gun games to survive against the flood. Now, wasn't it Halo 3 the last prophet died, right? Because the prophet of truth died in 3. And he was the last one because I remember hopping on that ship, killing the prophet of truth, and or no, the prophet of truth died by the flood. That's right, because he had one of them little suckers on his neck, and we just kind of left him be. This was also the one that we end up having to fight 343 Guilty Spark, which, depending on what weapons you had, it was okay. Well, it was the monitor, is what they call them. Um, we all knew him as 343 Guilty Spark because he was like, "You're not gonna kill the ring." Well, you're gonna die. And they also, yeah, I think so as well. The plasma rifle was also, I think, got me through most of our last playthrough. I don't know why I used them. I forgot that weapon was pretty good against the flood as well. I didn't even like I knew the gun because I've always remembered it, but like thinking about how good it was against the flood kind of blanked me until I saw the gameplay that's up on the screen right now. But Yeah, they brought back in this game the Warthog mission at the end, the one with all the tiles blowing up. I want your first thoughts on what you thought of that because that was the first few times was just hard to deal with because you never knew what was gonna blow up. And that's the thing, like I don't know if you were really timed with this, but you really needed to just be careful because you have sentinels shooting at you, you got floods shooting at you, you got panels shooting at you. I mean, you just got a bunch of there's always stuff coming at you, and you just can't seem to get away from it. Yeah, most definitely. You know, you want to make sure you go slow but not slow enough, and fast but not fast enough, so you don't die. Because you don't want to die and have to restart at the very beginning of the mission. Especially if you're on legendary, it's like 2 hits, you're dead. If even that, there's like a hit and a half, and you're dead. S- yeah, yeah, most definitely. And then just seeing the arbiter or even chief, depending on you know who's driving the warthog, on the back of the Warthog. Like seeing the Arbiter on the back of the Warthog is just like it was blasphemy, you know, just because yeah, you play with them the whole game, but just seeing the Arbiter in UNSC vehicles or using UNSC weapons was just weird because in Halo 1 or Halo 2, he wasn't really side by side with you at that time yet until the end. Yeah, until the end with Sergeant Johnson with Halo 2 is when you got the trust, and then even Master Chief didn't know until after he woke up at the beginning of Halo 3 that hey, we have, you know, he's on our side now. And it's like, "Oh, we have the most powerful." Right, right. So, going from Halo 3, we go to Halo 3 ODST. Halo 3 ODST was a whole new kind of breed. It wasn't a main game. It wasn't a um It wasn't a main game, it was a side game. It was basically in between the games of Halo 2 and 3 with a harder difficulty because you have silenced weapons and all, you know, you have to be a little bit more stealthy, but you're also living flashbacks. Yeah, you're just a regular soldier and you're uh, no, he was not an ODST yet, was he? So I thought he was a Marine that okay, so he because it was Buck that went into blue team, right? Okay, so yeah, because you're playing as a bunch of ODSTs, because obviously it's Halo 3 ODST. You know, you're the Hell Jumpers, you're the people who get shot down and you know, to go where you need to go, basically. You're one you're one grade below Spartan, but one grade above Marines, basically. And when you first get dropped down, you have to exit the pod, and then you search for clues, basically, and live flashbacks, which are the missions, and to see what really happened in New Mombosa. And just some of the stories, I really wish they'd remake this game with new graphics. I mean, it still holds up today, but Oh, is it? It's just a phenomenal storyline. They introduce for the first time in an FPS game. They introduce engineers, which if you've never played any of the other Halo off games like Halo Wars, you're not gonna know what an engineer is. But it's a Covenant unit that can in Halo Wars they heal, and in this game they yeah, they provide shields, which is nice. But you're basically going down and first you get hit with a sniper rifle obviously, but you there's just a lot of different type of weapons. They introduced silenced weapons for the first time, which I wish they would have utilized more. They were phenomenal weapons. They brought back the scoped pistol. Oh, that was a godsend because my first time with the scope pistol was Halo Combat Evolved. That is the most powerful pistol in all the Halo franchise. Halo 2 they took it away. Halo 3 they didn't have it if, as far as I remember. But Halo 3 ODST they brought it back. Oh, that was great. And the set the SMG was also scoped, which was phenomenal. And it was just something you'd go burst and you don't want to obviously shoot full mags because you're like, oh, don't, uh, you're gonna go all over the place with the recoil. But I've been interrupting you. Go ahead and say what you want with Halo 3 ODST. Most, yeah. It is definitely a more calming game. They did introduce more, seeing the call signs, even of your, um, the NPCs. Seeing Buck, Dutch, Mickey, seeing all of them. But you definitely have to play this game a bit differently than the mainline series because, like you said, you die quicker because you're not in Spartan armor, and playing this on Legendary is a joke. I mean, we've played a little bit on Legendary, not a whole lot, but it's just yeah, it's a pain. But this game also introduced a new feature into Halo that was brought into Halo Reach that was by far something that was really big for its time. It was in many other franchises in on the Xbox platform, which was Firefight. Firefight was a wave-based mode that you have waves of enemies, you kill them, you have another wave of enemies, you kill them, and then you have a big boss, and it's like, whoa, okay. And you had to, in order to unlock certain armors for Halo 3, you had to get certain achievements for Halo 3 ODST, and that was also a pain because you had to do firefight on Legendary with all skulls on. And that is a task for the strong-minded. That is not something to do just willy-nilly. You're not gonna do it. They introduced didn't they introduce a new Warthog with this game too? They introduced the I know they introduced something else in this game. That was in 3. I think they just took the assets from 3 and just did an ODST story. Wasn't correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't this game the one that had the pellet or the Hornet mission too? Where you're going from tower to tower, or was that Reach? Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. My bad. Um, I know most game franchises um when they have a side game like this, it is not known to be good. And Halo or Bungie just took it out of the park and was like, "Hey, we're gonna make this game as good as the main line, if not even better." And this story is more of the saddening type. It's not. It's just the lore and everything's sad with it, especially both their side games are, and we'll get into that with Halo Reach next, but I like the stealth aspect, even though I'm not a stealth person. You can ask Excalibur here. I am a run and gun type of person. I'm gonna grab the loudest gun I can find and, run in the middle of the crowd. I just like causing chaos and making it harder for the people who want to do it stealthy because it's just who I am. But this game was short for a reason, but it is still, you know, a great Halo game. It's in my top 5, but that's, well, yeah. We're mainly talking the FPSs today. If we have time, we'll talk the RTSs because those were phenomenal too. But we'll talk in the FPSs today at least. Um, so we're gonna move forward to Halo Reach. This one does touch close to my heart as well. Um, Mainly because my Spartan number is 052. It wasn't until my last playthrough, which made me feel like a horrible Halo fan, that one of the Spartans in this game is Spartan 052, and that is George. For those of you who've seen the poster, he's the guy with the big gun, bigger armor, the biggest Spartan you'll probably see. They also, a whole class are, you can see George right up there. He's holding the big minigun. Um, this is where they introduce Spartan teams because before you're on your own as Master Chief, and then with Reach they introduce teams, which is really cool. And this takes place right before combat evolved the first game. You're on a planet called Reach, and you are basically trying to defend the fall of it, which this game is. Yeah, this is the last stronghold. You're the last Spartan team to face the Covenant on Reach before they take it. This game has also been out for long enough to, if you haven't played it, it's one of those things if you haven't played it, go play it. Otherwise, just know anything I had is going to be spoilers for it. Halo Reach introduced Spartan abilities with sprinting, which wasn't, full sprinting. It was more once your ability is done, you have to wait for it to recharge. And yes, yes, you also had armor lock, bubble shield, um, cloaking, hologram. Yep, just a bunch of different, yeah, just a bunch of different abilities that were helpful, but they weren't long term, which was the thing that was kind of But it was something that they were trying out because in Halo, I don't think they had sprinting in any of the Halos up until this time. So with Halo 1, 2, 3, you're walking the entire way. That was something that, sprinting wasn't a big thing for Halo, even though its competitor had it. Yeah. But Halo Reach was definitely one that was another sad story because throughout the game you see Spartans die. You start with Kate because she was standing there. I was gonna say like an idiot. I wasn't a fan of Kate myself. When you get shot in the sniper, because when you're in the middle of a war zone, you don't stand where you can get seen like that. Huh? Who was the first? No, George was not, because you don't go up to the ship first, do you? Don't make me talk about this first. Okay, okay, okay. Okay, I gotta back up a little bit. Charles is right. So you do go up to a spaceship, um, and no, George dies halfway through, bro. No, Kate was first. So you're up in the ship. Kate dies first by a sniper. Then you and George go up to the ship, um, with a couple Marines, basically. You do a little bit of space battle, which was really cool for its time. They should have left it in Halo Reach. We'll get to that in a minute. Um, but basically, with Noble Team, this is George, his Spartan number 052. I didn't realize this, and then this scene now hits harder for me because with my number being 052 and seeing him not come back with us was hard because in this game you see just Spartans die and die and die. Like this team disobeyed the entire rule of they don't take the helmets off, but seeing a face with the armor and the name just made it like you're closer to the character. It's not just a helmet. But then he gives you his dog tags and it's not going to be a good day because he picks you up because he's the biggest Spartan, he could just pick you up and manhandle you and he throws you out. He doesn't give you a choice. But seeing this in first person like that, oh, being thrown back down to the planet, not knowing where you're gonna land. Oof. Damn. All right, all right. But going from George's death, what was your thoughts, on the entirety of the game? Like, what was your favorite part of Halo Reach? Hayabusa. Yep, Weevil. Mhm. And then we have Carter, the leader, who had, he's kind of the all-rounder. He can, he was able to adjust what he needed to. But, yep, which this game was really cool by, you're doing missions with each team member, especially after George dies. You do a mission with June, you automatically start with a sniper rifle. But then you do a mission with Emil, and you're running with like machine guns and like close combat stuff. And you run a mission with George, you're running with RPGs and shit. So they really change it up to who you're with what team member you're playing with. Yeah. And then so basically towards the end of the game, they show you as you're the last one left. You have to finish the mission to launch the Ark, which you later on then learn this is the scene also that Trolls was talking about with all the warthogs, the hornets, the mongoose, basically, if you want to say it that way, all just going towards the Covenant. Just it's just iconic, and that's the one thing that Bungie really knew how to do was a cinematic cutscene. They really we really learned that fact in Halo Reach, and also Halo Wars. That their cinematics is worth a movie basically. I mean, you could turn it into a movie, which a lot of people have on YouTube, um, just because of how iconic it is. But basically, the end of this game, you launch the Ark, which Master Chief is in. That's how Halo One gets started. Is you're right there. At the very end of this game is when Halo One takes place, and that's kind of how the franchise, they went back into a prequel, which is really cool. Um, I'd rather talk Halo Wars than Halo 4, in my opinion. Multiplayer split screen in Halo was great times with friends too in the older Halos. Yeah, they need to bring back couch co-op, bro. The thing is, couch co-op is something that will not come back. Yeah, it's something that won't come back. We are gonna talk Halo Wars because I'd just rather not talk Halo 4, even though I'm gonna have to. But we'll do Halo Wars since Halo Wars is the last game in Bungie's franchise that we have not talked about yet. Halo Wars was the first RTS Halo game, which, for those of you who don't play RTS games, it's real time strategy. Basically, you control a bunch of units. But, like, even looking at this, it looks like a movie. It looks like you're watching a movie. And the Halo Wars cutscenes were something definitely to look forward to because you finish your mission, you're like, yeah, I get a break, I can go use the restroom, but then a cutscene happens, you're like, nope, I'm staying right here. And a few of the iconic scenes are from this, this game. You're seeing the fall of this planet, which I don't even remember where you were for Halo Wars. That was, I know we played the game a lot, but I don't remember the where exactly you were. I saw there was only, yeah, to be fair, but Omega Team was the only Spartan team that I remember being on this game, like actual name Spartans. Um, there's only one cutscene that I personally love, and that's towards the end. Um, with Forge. I'm trying to see if I can find it quick. I was like the last little bit. Yeah, this takes place, I think, wasn't it? Um, I, I don't remember exactly what. I think it was 2542. Takes place a takes place a few decades prior to Halo Reach in a different quadrant of the area, but this is before Arbiter was redone. Omega Team Forge. All these characters you don't really see much outside of the RTS games, but seeing like this is the most iconic cutscene in my opinion of the entire game because you're seeing three badass Spartans going against a bunch of elites with just four SMGs and a shotgun, and they're just going to town. And then you see Forge take on the Arbiter like it's nothing. And I love RTS games. I love just thinking about strategy and then what units are going to do good against what. I didn't think as most games that aren't RTS games don't do really well as an RTS game. This one, I don't know if it was just Bungie saying, "Hey, we could do this," but they did so well. The only downside I can think about this is the Flood was not a playable character. But you also, we get introduced to the Flood in this game as well. So the Flood's been around for a very, very long time. Pre Halo 1. Yep. First time a human used. The thing is, I think it's cool. First time a human used an energy sword, and it like was 3 times the size of his hand. And then they just throw the arbiter off the side of the platform like it's nothing. But this was a phenomenal game. The story was great. It hooks you. Like, I mean, every Halo game hooks you except for the one we're talking about next. The title of our podcast is really what's going to be said next. But I want to wrap up with Halo Wars. The multiplayer was great, even though you only have 6 different leaders. Um, you get to play as the brutes, you get to play as the arbiter, you get to play as prophet of truth, or no, was it truth or regret? One of the prophets. But you can get through this game in a measly 6.5 hours if you play it on easy, probably a little under 7 or a little under 6. but it's something that you can play co-op with your friends. It's great. Um, yep, you can still get the skulls like you can get in every single other Halo game. That's something that they didn't want to get rid of, but you build up your base a little bit, but unlike some strategy games where you have to actually build like, oh, you have to build this building, you have to build this building, you have to build that building, you have to build this building to do this. You have one building, you just build like sections, which is really cool. It was just a dumbed down version of an RTS game, which I loved. Because playing it on controller, happened to build a building here and then building a building, a little bit further away or whatever. It wasn't going to be ideal to do. I know certain companies have been trying it, kind of working ish. Yeah, this is more for a fast paced strategy game. You have to get resources, power. You have a certain population limit, but it's still such a wonderful game. But here is hold on. I want to make sure I get this said right. Because now we go into. Yep, what Trolls was saying. I interrupted him. My bad. Now we go into away from Bungie. We go to 343 Industries. When I first saw the gameplay trailer for this game, I was like, okay, okay, maybe I can get behind this. And then I saw how much they changed the armor. I'm like, ugh, I cannot get behind this. I haven't been able to get behind this game in forever. What really grinds my games is how they insert so much new stuff to a storyline that doesn't belong. There, people are like, oh, well, what are things you like about this game? I think the list of things I like about this game is a lot less than I dislike about this game because they introduce so many things and make Cortana the bad guy. I mean, they do so much to try to shove stuff down your throat, especially with a new enemy type that is so overpowered you can't even play it on legendary. Um, they just swarm you from all over the place, and I'm gonna let trolls take the I'm gonna let trolls take the table for a minute because I know the thing that I really want to get into is the last mission, which we're not there yet. Dit, dit, dit. And then you get to a certain point of the story where you're really seeing the new Forerunner, and then you have to jump into a portal. It becomes super fast paced, and it's like, yeah, Halo is known for fast pace, but I mean this is just ridiculous against enemies that don't do anything for you, and it's this game was just a giant mess in my opinion. It wasn't. It was just cutscene after cutscene, and then all of a sudden there's guys that just you just barely kill. And it's just I don't know. Like I'd rather face the flood an entire game than face these guys ever again. In my opinion, this is why this game really grinds my games. This game could be taken out of existence, and I wouldn't care. So every or go ahead. Yeah. So the mission I'm currently showing is the main reason I hate this game. And people say, but Spartan, hate is such a strong word. No, no, this game, I would rather play through every single Halo and including 5 and Infinite and leave this one out. This game made no sense to the story in my opinion. And if anyone could educate me better than a diehard Halo fan, please explain how this story makes sense to anything. Because even after when you go into 5, it doesn't make sense. Like, and the having to speed through the missions like the Warthog mission and what I'm currently showing are supposed to be fun. This is the most aggravating thing I have ever done in a video game ever in my life. I have even done the chocobo race in Final Fantasy X, where you have to catch so many balloons, so your time is 0 seconds in the entire race, and that's a pain in the butt. This game is beyond aggravating, and it's not even that long for 343's first Halo game, because it's half of Halo 1, half of Halo 2, a third of Halo 3. Aren't you supposed to be making the games longer than the predecessor's side games? I mean, this game's as long as Halo Reach and Halo 3 ODST. This game provided nothing. I mean, the multiplayer was the only decent thing about it because we hadn't had a Halo multiplayer since 3. So besides multiplayer being okay, okay, since Reach, there was no good multiplayer besides this one was okay because this is the only Halo we had since Reach. But Reach was also 360 days, so everyone was still on Reach compared to 4. And once Xbox One came out, everyone went. Mm-hmm. I know. Everyone went from Reach to 5. Because we only had one Halo game the entire Xbox One franchise. The entire generation, we've only had one, and that was Halo 5. And then we went from 5 to Infinite. Yeah, it's mind blowing because we had two Halos on original Xbox. We had Halo 3, Combat Evolved Anniversary, Wars 1, Reach, ODST. I think I said Reach. 4 or 5 Halo games on one generation, and then we go to Halo, or we also had Halo 4 on one as well, or 360. But then you go to Halo or Xbox One, all we have is Halo 5. Like, what is going on, 343? Like, I really wanted to know what was going on with you, and then you come out with Halo Infinite, which seemed kind of unfinished with how it was, and then the multiplayer was very lackluster. Like, I love my Halo multiplayer better because when Call of Duty went a certain route, I was like, it's just Halo. I'm going to Halo. I went back to Halo for a long time. And then I kind of strayed away from FPS competitive because it was all garbage. There hasn't been a good one in a very long time. So I guess what are your final thoughts on 4? Because I'm done talking about it. Because I just know I'm gonna get where I get rated. Which with Halo 4, I did take part of one of the tournaments. Came 333,000, which doesn't mean a lot, but for a kid that was in high school, it meant everything. Because, being a kid in high school, you're not expecting to get 300 out of 33,000 people. So, What? Vaguely. Yeah, it was this, and if you got armor. We'll get to the armor. Don't worry with where they're sitting at. We'll talk about that because I know you know a little bit about Infinite's armor set, but we don't talk. Or I know that wasn't a lot on Halo 4, but we don't talk about Halo 4 because Halo 4 is garbage. And the sad thing is, like Halo 5 Guardians, their next game that came out on the next generation, like it was the only game of Halo on the Xbox One. We were just saying, it's only 5 hours long. It's just as long as Halo 4. What really grinds my games about this one, I'm not harping on 343, but when harping is due, it's due. They didn't even know Master Chief was the main character of Halo for whoever wrote this game because they're they introduced Spartan Locke, which really, like, who is this Locke character? They threw him in Halo 2 Remastered, which made no bloody sense because it was one cutscene Locke was in the entire game. I'm like, why was this here? He was talking to Shipmaster in Halo 2 Remastered at the very beginning of the game. You can't even do that scene in co-op. If you play the game solo from the very beginning, it is Shipmaster and Locke talking, saying, "Hey, I'm looking for this guy." So it claimed that Locke was looking for Chief for years. And then they bring him in Halo 5, and you play as Locke's team and Blue Team, which is Chief's team. And Buck is from ODST is in Chief's team, and you have to sit here and as Locke's team chase down Chief. As Chief, you're chasing down Cortana because Cortana went evil. Like, what the hell? I don't get very angry at games too much, but 343, you've really torn apart a franchise, in my opinion, that was really good on original Xbox when Bungie had it. I understand Bungie was done with it. I understand Xbox needed their poster boy, but you could have given it to anybody else. Like, oh my goodness. I mean, Activision even helped Bungie with Halo for a little bit. So even have Activision, as much as I really just don't like their work right now, Activision isn't just Call of Duty. They're also Crash Bandicoot, Spyro. I mean, you name it, they've made it. They also made Transformers, War for Cybertron, so they could have helped with Halo. But the cool thing with this game, though, is you see 8 different Spartans with 8 different armors, and with this team, they're a little bit more, smaller Spartans. And with blue team, their armor is more OG, like Chiefs. That it's bulkier, less, you know, not known to be mobile or as quick. But trolls, I'm gonna let you have the floor. I've ranted enough. I will admit, I will admit, their cutscenes were good though. That's about it. Like seeing one of the Spartans jumping through the ship before it crashes, killing the guys and jumping back out, like that's a Spartan thing to do. Not only that, you're putting Chief out as the bad guy per se too, because you're mainly playing as Locke. Like how? Sorry, I had to laugh at that voice crack there. Everyone trolls is feeling a little under the weather, but you gotta give them a little bit. But it's still good times. But yeah, going straight into the gameplay, seeing him stab that elite with the sword, and then everything just falling apart. And then they changed the battle rifle to a reflex sight, which really just drove me nuts. Which I mean, I know there was different attachments and stuff you could find with the guns, but the battle rifle did not deserve a reflex sight. That deserved a scope. And this was the first game that introduced like zooming in a little bit because whenever you zoom in with the pistol, it is down sight, but with like the AR, it just brought it closer to your face. It didn't necessarily bring it aim down sight. That was one thing I did like. It was weird at first, but it was one thing I did like about the game. Um, but I very rarely ever found myself using it for the simple fact you play through 4 games and didn't have it, you're not used to it. But like I will say this though, remembering the gameplay, the beginning of the game, you still are facing the foreigners. But I don't understand I don't remember them being a lot in the game though. Especially the further it was still just mind numbing on how we had to deal with them and everything. But going back and forth between blue team and I don't remember what Locke's team was actually called, but I don't remember when you start playing as Chief. I do remember playing as Chief, and then you go into a cutscene, and then seeing the showdown against Locke and Chief. You're expecting this really, really big fight, like the coolest fight that they could do. The two big name Spartans, and then all of a sudden, he locks down his armor, and Chief locks down Locke's armor and walks away. Like, really? You had so much potential. Just let them beat the crap out of each other for a little bit. But you locked down his armor after 10 seconds. Like, Chief can handle his own. And you make Chief into a 10-second Sally. Well, technically speaking, how they were doing it was Locke's uh, had the newest armor set, which was, it was smaller and lighter, which was, you can move better. But Chief's armor had the better defenses. He can take more because his armor's bulkier. It's kind of like George with Halo Reach. Um, just 343 had so much potential. I mean, don't get me wrong. The storyline's better than 4. I will give it that. How much better than 4? Uh, eh, it's like it's like shooting two different pistols that it's the bullet size is very minuscule. Like you can't even tell. Or it, yeah, yep, it's like garbage and recycling. Halo 4 was complete garbage. Halo 5 Guardians was recycle it, and then all of Bungie's Halos were treasures that you put onto a display stand and you display them for life. Um, I don't understand on how they drop the ball so hard. Like I said, when you have so much potential, and then they even bring back the arbiter and luck. Yeah, and not only that, it's Locke decides to have attitude with him, and Arbiter's like, well, he's still my friend. So I they make Arbiter with all this, with this big armor and stuff, and I don't know what they were thinking, putting in Locke, especially taking his helmet off. Like they're really just trying to put a face to the name, and I'm wondering if they were really trying to replace Chief. Like I wouldn't want to see Chief replaced, but it's also because I grew up with Chief. It's very much like trying to introduce um a new character for a new generation, and then they do horrible. Now we're gonna move on to Halo Infinite because I really want to wrap up with Halo or 343. Well, we're gonna do one last game after Halo Infinite because it is actually 343's only good game, so we can't rep on them too much. But Halo Infinite, honestly, I've played mass majority of the game. I liked it, but it wasn't like Bungie good. Like seeing the chief have to literally scrap at everything he possibly can. He's literally ruining everything because of these big brutes. And he's getting thrown around by getting hit with hammers and stuff. He's been hit by a hammer before in Halo 2. And this hammer literally just wipes him a new one. I mean, then again, he is aged a lot. And, he loses Cortana. And not only that, these brutes just are wiping him with the floor, as you can see. Like, seeing the beginning of this game just was heartbreaking because you're seeing basically like the Hulk destroy your favorite hero. And that's what Chief was. Chief was, the hero for Halo for a very long time. But you have a whole new brute clan that took over the Covenant. It's mainly brutes now with some grunts and everything, and you're sitting here trying. You got grappling hooks now, which are really cool. You got a lot more armor abilities, which are really cool. But it's it was a bit of a longer game, which in my opinion they needed it. But there wasn't really a lot of big moments in this game for me to remember, besides maybe facing a few of the brutes. But like for an example, for me, having a free roam Halo game just wasn't really what the game franchise needed. Like for a campaign, like you can do the campaign in any order basically, except for like the main missions. But you do the side shit whenever. It's like no, give me a mission based game that's good. Which is why they've kind of given up on the campaign, from what I've heard. I could be wrong, but I do like that you could pick up the coils and stuff and throw them. That was a pretty cool feature about the game. The grappling hook was pretty cool. Um, I'm trying to think of positives to say here. It's hard because the game it just felt quick when you were playing it, but like looking back at it, it wasn't really as quick. But you're having flashbacks for um Cortana. Oh, and you have this new AI called Weapon. Oh my god, could they have picked a worse voice actor? Like, think about the most annoying little sister you've ever had. Which, I mean, yes, if you have a sister, you love your family. But think, or even think of like the most annoying friend you have. Excalibur, shut up. Um, that just has that high pitched, grainy voice that you just are like, why? And doesn't want to risk anything, or they just are very like, oh my god, we shouldn't do that. Like why? Like, you got this badass AI Cortana for a majority of the games, and then you go to Weapon to try to fight Cortana. Like, really? I don't know if I know you said you have barely played Infinite at all, like campaign wise, but Weapon is just oh, like I said, it's the little kid who just doesn't know when to give up. But anything you want to say on Halo Infinite? You played a lot of the multiplayer. You want to know one weapon that really didn't hit? Oh, um, that electric pistol that only took down shields. Why? Nobody was gonna use it. Um, I just, I don't know. Like they had so much potential. Like like the shock rifle here. I mean, it's okay, but it's just fodder at that point. I just there is one. The shotgun that he's currently using right now. The heat wave was good. The one that you could change whether it's going vertical or horizontal. That is a good shotgun. But the thing is, you can't have like 30 new weapons and one good one. That's like saying I'm gonna add, 30 new Pokemon and they're all garbage. Or 100 new Pokemon and one of them is good competitively, like the last generation. But that's for another time. But it's just I don't know. It's one of those things where the bosses made no sense. They're all overpowered, even on normal. I my first playthrough with this game was normal, and I had problems. I am not a amateur when it comes to Halo, but I had issues with this game on normal, and I shouldn't have to have issues on normal with this game. And it was just with one of the bosses, I'm like, well, I'm doing this on Legendary with my buddy Excalibur, which we haven't done yet. And I told him the issues I had on normal, and he was like, hell no. I'm like, why not, buddy? It's because this game, really, I mean, I barely see the HP bar go down to the visual that I'm showing on the live stream. The audio users, the HP bar is barely going down from what it looks like. It's just, yeah. I 343 just needs to step it up. I know they've gone through some changes staffing wise since this game's came out. I'm not going to show visuals of the show because I want to talk about the last bad thing and we'll end up on a good note. The show. Oh my god. What really grinds my games is when a company tries to do a show. There hasn't been a lot of good gaming um like adaptations to movies or shows. One big one that flopped recently, Borderlands. Oh my god, that was a horrible movie. I wanted it to be good until I realized what they really did. But the Halo show, oh my god. First season, as soon as they took the helmet off in the first episode, I turned that off. I'm like, nope, that's not Halo. That is a sci-fi romantic uh thriller, action pack, whatever. Uh, I'm like, I am not watching this, and I didn't. I had people tell me about it, but I'm sitting here like, I don't care. It's not Halo in my opinion. I know the Fallout show is pretty good. Um, it's very high and in between that game adaptations actually work. I think that they need to do it not animated but like CGI, like kind of like their cinematics in the games, and keep it at that. Don't do live action. Do it cinematic like the game cinematics. Keep it at that so people aren't having high expectations. You can still have it's basically almost CGI at that point. Do it like that. I that's the way I would do it. Yeah, you're paying these voice actors more, that especially who voices Chief and stuff, but it works so much better. Keep the helmet on. Yeah. Not only that, they it's just I don't know, like the first action scene was pretty good, and then they took the helmet off and I'm like, "Why?" And then they just I don't know, they have so much potential, and after season 2 it got canceled. Um it's just hard to, especially with the fans, like you gotta, if the fans aren't gonna be behind it, you gotta do what's best for that. Cause like this right here, this would have been cool in a show. Him just jumping off a side of a building and then all of a sudden diving into a pelican. Like seriously, that would have been cool to see in the show. But we are here to talk games, not shows. But I wanted to touch base on that too. Leave it on a, leave our thoughts on that a little bit. We are going to talk about Halo Wars 2. 343's first good game when it comes to the Halo franchise. I loved Halo Wars 2. This is when this takes place in between Halo 5 and Halo Infinite. This is where they introduce the Brute faction Banished, and you get it got canceled because no support. The show got canceled because no support. Um, it just didn't have a good following, and they had the head of the show in 343 step down from what I heard. But no, Halo Wars 2 is the second one in the franchise for Halo Wars. First one was made by Bungie, second one was made by 343. I will say this isn't better than Halo Wars 1, but it is by far the best Halo game 343 has ever made. The new head of Halo is known for RTS games, so I'm hoping for a Halo Wars 3. I am praying for a Halo Wars 3 because I would love to see more of this franchise, even if it turns into an RTS game with, a FPS game here and there. I'd be fine with that. Give me two RTS games per FPS. I'd be fine with it. I know not a lot of people like RTS games because of the strategy and the time. I mean, Age of Mythology just came out. One match for me takes an hour. Not many people have an hour to sit down for one match. Even though most games like Excalibur and I play, matches take an hour plus, like Smite. But we won't go there. The graphics are a hair better than Halo Wars 1, gameplay wise, but still pretty good game. Um, it is faster paced than Halo Wars 1. Another thing too is the DLCs. Oh, phenomenal, phenomenal storylines. That was their way of saying, hey, we could do side games too, but we made ours in a form of DLC. The storylines for both DLCs are really worth getting if you're into RTS games because it just adds, I think it's 2 hours each for for each storyline, and then it adds a bunch of new gameplay features itself too. So go ahead and say your thoughts on uh Halo Wars 2. You're talking the flood they were into. The main story heavily focused on the Banish because they want to introduce the new faction. Yeah, I do like that they introduced the Banish. The story alone was phenomenal, especially on how they shown on how Atriox took over the Covenant just the way he did. And as an RTS game, I do like that they use cinematics to really explain it, and then you get to battle, and then you get the cinematics to explain more. And just the fear of the AIs knowing of Atriox, like Serena there. Um, Serena was basically saying, "Hey, Atriox is this, you know, brute. We need to run." And Cutter isn't known for standing down. He wasn't in Halo Wars 1. He isn't now. He, this being having to be on the run from brutes is something that the UNSC isn't used to, and having to do that in Halo Wars 2, even as a player, you're like, oh no, I can take him on. And then, seeing how he took over the Covenant, and then going into Halo Infinite, getting torn apart by Atriox and, his brother, just is another just another thing to have to deal with. So the thing we also have to take into account too is Halo Wars 2 takes place because Cutter was young in Halo Wars 1. Unless it's a different Cutter, but they're the same rank. Halo Wars 2, so between Halo Wars 1, which takes place before Reach, and Halo Wars 2, there's not a lot of time that's passed. So, but the cutscenes alone, like you get the small loading screens to go use the restroom or pause it right as the mission starts because you don't want to miss the cutscenes. And you get flamethrowers in this one. You get a lot of new units, which is just great. And each hero or leader has different units too, and um, different abilities that you unlock. You get Omega Squad with certain, you get Omega Squad from Halo Wars 1 with a certain leader. You, you get ODSTs. There's a lot of different things that you can potentially try. And then if you want to go the comedic route, you can do Yap Yap the Destroyer, which is one big giant grunt, and you can get grunts from him for free. And you can have three giant grunts, and then you can have fodders, which are very weak melee grunts for free, but that's a way to do rushes is that you can pump up a lot of grunts really quickly, and then all of a sudden, hey, I have 500 grunts. What are you gonna do? Oh, just have a turret. Okay, yeah, I'm done. So, Yep, I definitely can say out of all 343's work, Halo Wars 2 is by far their best work. If they stick with RTSs, I feel like they have a great future ahead of them. If they don't, I don't know. I want to see one more FPS come out of them before I have a final opinion. As of right now, there's 0 for 3 in my book. I mean, Halo Infinite, I can give a point to because it was good. It's just it was short. If it was a longer game, I'd be fine with it. Not as scaled up, but we also have to expect. Chief has aged. He's been through war. He's been through hell. He's literally been in the grip of everything. So, but anything else with Halo Wars 2 you'd like to talk about, Trolls? I mean, we basically between you and I covered basically a little bit of everything. All right. So now we're going to the part of the What Really Grinds My Games podcast. We are going to the part where every other week we will spin to see who is picking the game for the week. Well, actually, it's mainly starting this week. We'll spin. Next week is going to be the opposite person. We'll go back and forth every week. What we're going to be doing is at the end of each show, except for this one, obviously, because we haven't decided yet, we are going to have either Excalibur or myself pick a game. The opposite, we're both going to play the game together the next couple weeks and talk about it within 2 weeks. But next week's episode, we will also be, or the opposite person will pick a game. So we'll have something for the next, couple weeks to talk about. So this week and next week we won't. The and then every week after that we'll have an extra game to talk about for a little bit towards the end of the podcast, just to kind of see what people, what the other one thought of a game that either they grew up with or that they both wanted to try, whether it be, you know, something simple as a couple hour game or a story heavy game that you can kind of get a feel with in a couple weeks. We're gonna just stick with Game Pass games for now, but we're gonna do a randomizer and see who picks. I'm gonna spin it now. Of course, Excalibur gets the first pick, and I will show my phone, even though it's gonna be dim that down. It won't show. It's right there. It shows Excalibur right there. Just so people don't think I'm lying, just so I don't have to pick. Excalibur Troll is the first one to pick. So, Excalibur, do you have a game in mind? If I have to buy it, that's no problem. Let's see. Game list. Excalibur. Okay, what game are you deciding there, buddy? Ooh, okay. I'm gonna do a game or play a trailer. I know I've never played it, so this is gonna be something cool. So this is the game that Excalibur chose. We're gonna show trailers for each game, so this is actually gameplay. So tell me a little bit about the outfit. Let me what you can remember. So the outfit, I will be just here in 2 weeks. I will be talking about my experience with the outfit. I've never played it, but it's a game that Trolls recommended, so I will be either finding a way to play it or purchasing it on the Xbox Series X, and that's what my experience will be. I do have a 360, so I could have the OG experience, but I would like to have the faster hardware. I might also play it on 360 just to get the experience, but um, like I said, every 2 weeks we will talk about the game that the other person chose. Um, if Excalibur if Excalibur chooses to go back and play it through himself, he can. But typically, games that he recommends are games that he's played or he wants to play. If he wants to play it, then he would have to go play it. But it kind of gives you guys also a chance to check out games that we recommend too, because you know what's the we want to be able to show games. That's where I've gotten a lot of games is from podcasts, from Twitch streams. I've gotten Vampire Survivors from podcasts. I've got because people just kept talking about it. I'm like, okay, I gotta go try it. I've watched Twitch streams on State of K. That's where I fell in love with that series. Was just watching a Twitch stream or a random streamer one day. But I figured, why not, try out random games for everybody, and then somebody who doesn't play games like this or JRPGs or whatever, you can get somebody from outside of the box's opinion on a game, just so then you're like, oh well, maybe I gotta go give that game a shot. So, anything else that you would like to talk about Trolls today? Alrighty. I think there's only one way to end a Halo podcast, and I can't play it for long, but we have to. And that is and leaving out listening to one of the best theme songs from the Halo franchise, and that is Halo 2 with the guitar riff. Everyone have a wonderful night, evening, day, whatever time of day it is whenever you listen to this, or wherever you're at in the world. It has been fun talking Halo. We will be back next week talking some Gears of War. One of the one of the big three from Xbox 360 back in the day. So have a wonderful night. Trolls, you want